Good evening and salutations, my GH fans. I'm gonna be honest, this episode it felt off. It felt off. We're gonna talk about the whole Jocelyn and Cam thing first because I'm gonna be honest, this felt more like a PSA. This felt more exactly like a PSA. And I said this yesterday. I was like, the pressure's gonna get too much to Jocelyn, and she's not gonna want to go through with it. And of course, that's exactly what ended up happening. Um, they didn't go through with it, and this is where it comes into a PSA. The sad thing is that it shouldn't have felt like a PSA, because here's the thing: she, Cam noticed that like she wasn't, she didn't want to really go through with it, and he talks to her and he's like, yo, listen, if you're not ready to do this, then I understand. Like, we can wait as long as you want. Like, you don't have to feel like you're pressure or rushed or whatever. Um, Jocelyn felt like if, they didn't do it, then he was going to dump her. And I'm not going to lie, I felt like that was a little kind of off. Like, when did you know Cam to sit there and ever be that type of person that's like, all right, well, if we don't do this like now, then I'm going to find another version of you, like, in 5 minutes, So the fact that she was just like, well, the fact that she said that just felt off. Um, and that's why I felt like it came across more as a PSA than like them being the actual characters, you know? Like it just felt off. Like why would she just sit there and just assume that? And yeah, I understand that she sat there, she let college life and Esmere kind of get in her head, and that made sense. But the whole Cam thing, like, oh well, if we don't do it, then you're gonna dump me. It's like, what? Like, I feel like that just kind of came out of left field. Um, uh, Michael and Willow. Here's the thing about Chad Duell. When he came in, he took over the role for Michael. I mean, respect to the other guy who did it before him. But when he came in, he took over the role for Michael. I really liked him as Michael. And I feel like they can do so much with this character. Like when you sit there and you just think about stats for a minute, he has the looks and he's smart. Um, he kind of, what I'm saying, like he's the best version. He has, the best version of his mom and Sonny. And yet you watch this episode with him and Willow and it just felt like, what was the point of those two even being there? I get it, they want to accompany Carly to go out to this club or whatever, and yada yada yada. But it just felt like it was like, why are you even here? And I hate that. I really, really, really hate that because I feel like he could be doing so much more than um than what he's doing. It got to a point where Willow just kind of came out of nowhere and she was like, oh, well, help me up. I'm going to go on the table and just announce to everyone that I love you. And I was like, what? And part of me was like, no, please don't tell me she's actually going to do that. Just don't tell me she's going to do that. And second of all, it was like, where did that come from? Where did that come from? It just seemed it was another one of those things like it just came out of left field. And I get the fact that they were having some issues and arguments and stuff like that, but just like her solution is just to make sure that he what does he have a look of he feels insecure. I don't understand that. Like, what was the point of that? And then I'm sitting there thinking, what the hell was the point of both of them being in this episode? Because they served damn near no purpose, and I hate that. Now, this is something that I don't know if I don't know if their comment is going to be on and I say they because I don't know if it's he or she, but this is a comment that DW wrote, and I gotta sit there and say it it was really interesting. It was pretty much about just how they're wasting characters, they're wasting certain characters' potential. And as far as like the next generation of people that they should be using, as opposed to just constantly using Jason and Sonny and Carly and stuff like that. Like it was. I don't normally sit there and every now and then I'll sit there and talk about somebody's comment, but this one was like really good. And I actually had to sit there and talk about that once because I didn't exactly remember the username. I knew it was like D something, but and it just kind of aligns with the fact that it's like they're just wasting Michael, and it's so annoying. It's so annoying because he's a cool character, but they don't really give him enough to do. And when you sit there and have scenes like this with Willow, and Willow's like, "Oh, I'll sit there and go on the table so I can sit there and shout my love to everyone." It's like, no, don't do that. Don't do that. Just please don't do that. Carly was there. Carly talked to Curtis, and I was sitting there wondering, like, was Carly, well, was she wanted there after the whole Joey thing? But Curtis like, nah, it's cool, and you say everything is handled, so it's handled, so it's whatever. I felt like this episode. Okay, I'm gonna give you. I'm gonna sit there and just say an example. There was a point where Liz looked like she didn't know if she wanted to stay at the Savoy or go home. And Portia walked up, and Portia was like, listen, if you don't feel like being here, after the whole Franco thing and everything like that, if you got to sit there and take care of yourself, you do go home and stuff like that. Now, partly I was like, I'm pretty sure Cam is not there trying to, he rushed her and everyone else out the house. This way he can have the house to himself. And you are just messing up that damn plan. I get where she's coming from, but I'm sitting there thinking like, damn. So there's one point where, Cam and Jocelyn are making out and stuff like that, and they see headlights. They're about to go upstairs and they see headlights. So that's what they're thinking is Liz. And I felt like as the audience, we're sitting there thinking, well, okay, Liz went back home. But, Cam was like, no, it's not her car, whatever, it's somebody else. And later on, you see Liz, with Finn, celebrating her birthday and stuff like that, just having a good time and thanking him for making it a lot better than it was, But I'm sitting there thinking, was that the original plan? Or was the original plan for Liz to actually come home and somehow see Cam and Jocelyn in a compromising position? I felt like that was part of the plan, but they like changed it at the last minute, and I'm just like, that's why I was like, this episode felt off. Between that, their PSA, it felt off. And damn, did they have a lot of characters in there. Yeah, Scott talking to Ava to try to get information on her. I mean, information, as far as liaison and WSB. So he comes in there and he's acting like he's all drunk and stuff like that, and he's all sad and heartbroken and stuff, feeling inadequate, like, oh, I had one job to protect Olbrich and I couldn't do that, and now send, her daughter in there and she's gonna kill me, and just feeling all sad and sympathetic, all sad or whatever. And so Ava looks at the situation and, she's like, hey, Victor, is here and he wants some demands or whatever. He's kind of a shady dude, and and I guess it was information that Scott needed, because Scott like snapped out of his whole little drunken state, and Ava was like, "What? You just pretended to be drunk the whole time just to get information or whatever?" And he got it, and all he said was, "Oh, if you're in my position, or if I was in your position, I would sit there and do the same thing." But I'm just like, okay, so now you know that Victor is in town and he wants some information. Like, how does that get you any closer to finding Olbrich? Like, okay, yeah, you got that out of her, but for what? What are you gonna do with it? I mean, you've been sitting there, at the party, you was practically asking everyone and anyone to sit there and help you find Olbrich. So how is getting information about Victor any closer to your quest? Um, I know I'm kind of telling this a little bit out of order, but this whole episode, I'm not just saying it felt like a mess, but it was just like, Jesus Christ, could you just like, could you cram any more characters into this show if it's possible? You think you can film a little more people? Like, that's how I felt when I was watching it. So Brooklyn, after making a comment about Chase looking like Jason, because apparently that's the fashion sense, and I said this story before, but I'm gonna sit there and say it again, because why not? When I first started watching GH, and I saw Jason, I was like, that's my guy. That is, I was like, besides Sonny, which I'm liking so far, that is my guy. Up until the point where I had a bunch of black t-shirts. You know what? Maybe I should actually wear a black t-shirt. Yeah, I should order some black t-shirts. I actually used to wear black t-shirts in high school. Like black t-shirts and like jeans and stuff like that. So, when I heard, Brooklyn Smith there talking about Chase looking like Jason, it was like, memories. Anyway, they're sitting there talking, and Chase is like, "Hey, I need you to start running interference with Maxie because I'm trying to find her, her child, and you ain't helping." He was also there to be security to kind of make up for the fact that he's doing desk duty. He was like, "Yo, I need you to just kind of stop what you're doing." Anyway, there gets to a point where they're talking about like the crib or whatever, and long story short, Brooklyn sees the sleaze bag. Not gonna lie, I kind of don't remember his name now. Anyway, they see each other, and the guys that they're trying to run his mouth with are like, "Oh, it's good seeing you. Oh, I'm here for my talent or whatever." This is after Chase is like, "Yo, listen, if you get within 6 feet of her, if you get within 6 feet of her, and he's all like, oh, I don't need to be manhandled or whatever. I'm just here to see my talent or whatever." And later on, towards the end of the episode, Curtis walks up to Brooklyn and asks Brooklyn about the guy and asks Chase about him. And walks up to Portia and was like, "Yo, listen, I'm starting to sit there and think that him being here, showing up, isn't a coincidence." And then I don't know how, he leaped to the fact that it was like maybe he was sent here by someone else. And I'm just like, how did you leap to that? But then again, there's a guy that's running around asking for information about him, so maybe that's how he jumped to that leap, that conclusion, I guess. Now, an interesting conversation between Austin and Valentine was that Austin pretty much was like, "Yo, listen, just let you know," because he was sitting there talking about how Brooklyn kind of played him or whatever, with the whole ELQ and stuff like that, and then he pretty much kind of drops the fact that like Gladys knows that Brooklyn is well, she's pretty much snowing you in some sort of way. She's pretty much kind of like playing you, and Gladys has a scoop. After sitting there talking to Gladys and about using her credit card, Gladys has some dirt or whatever as far as you're concerned, or something along those lines. So now he's like, so I thought that conversation was interesting because now Valentine's going to be on Brooklyn and watching her like a hawk. And, well, anytime there's any day there's a bad day for Brooklyn. And I'm not going to lie, when Valentine was like, "All right, well, what do you want, what do you want in exchange?" And Austin was like, pretty much, "I just want Brooklyn to have a bad day. If Brooklyn has a bad day, just sit there and tell her that I sent you." And I'm like, you know what? I love your petty energy. Love it. So I thought that was interesting. Towards the end of the episode, I guess the guy played his music. By the way, did anyone actually like his song? Because I'm going to be honest, I was kind of just like, I just kept sitting there looking at the minutes like, alright, I guess they're going to sit there and run out the clock with this one. I don't know. Let me know if it was good or not. Listen, I'm into all types of music. I don't know if it was just like, I just wasn't into listening to at the point, or was he just not really playing? I felt like he wasn't playing anything good. I felt like he wasn't playing anything good. There's been times where, somebody would sit there and sing a song or whatever on a show. And sometimes I've just lowered the volume because I'm just like, I don't want to listen to it. But like if it's actually good, I'll give you an example. Days. There's a character named Johnny. Now, he was sitting there trying to woo this woman, this girl named Chanel. He brings out a guitar, and he starts singing. And at first I was like, I don't... But then I listened to it, and I was like, alright, that was actually really good. I can't even knock it. So I think maybe he just wasn't good, but I don't know. Maybe I just wasn't in the mood. I couldn't tell. So let me know in the comment section, did you actually like this guy's performance, or, whatever. Or was he bad? Sonny and Nina. I'm not gonna lie, there was one point where, when Nina was sitting there talking about how great it is that Phyllis is going to be owning the bar and running it and stuff like that. And, Nina was like, well, now that, she's going to be running it, I guess I have to sit there and find another watering hole. Like, she can't drink there. She pretty much can't, I guess she can try the floating rib, but, and I don't think they have to set, but regardless, she was like, I guess I'm going to have to find another place to go. Since your rules are sitting there saying that I can't really be around you or anyone you care about. And, Sonny was like, well, listen, I'm going to change the rules. And that's when Nina was like, well, that's just like you, Mike would sit there and do this. I'm just like, I don't understand. Why is it every time you want to sit there and talk about him, you talk about Mike? And it's not like you don't see the disdain, the discomfort, the look of, that look. Every time she calls him Mike, Sonny gives her a look. And, you would sit there and think, well, if I keep sitting there trying to compare him to how he was before, and you keep sitting there giving me the screw face, the why you sitting there saying that for, maybe I should stop. Nah, I'm just going to sit there and keep calling you Mike. And that's literally what she was sitting there doing. And, Sonny was like, listen, I'm not changing it for you. I mean, I'm doing it for her. If it just happens to work in your best interest, that's cool. But this isn't for you, And once again, he's just like, yo, listen, stay away from me, stay away from my family, and that's it. Now, towards the end of the episode, Scott talks to Nina about strategy. And one of the things that Scott's saying is like, yo, listen, you have rights as a grandparent. Use them. And Nina's like, yeah, that's like a really bad idea because, yeah, that's just a bad idea. I think we should probably go another direction. As far as trying to fight her defense, Now, one of the things that I guess was actually interesting was that when Nina was like, listen, when I go, during this court hearing, you're going to have to sit there and testify or whatever, like you're going to be called up. And they're going to sit there and go through all the stuff that happened at Nixon Falls, everything that I did as far as lie to you and stuff like that. Now, I'm sitting there thinking, I thought she was going to use this opportunity to sit there and try to get Sonny try to have Sonny back off Michael. Because here's the thing, when Sonny has to sit there and talk about Nixon Falls and everything like that, and Nina, the thing is, Carly doesn't know about their romance, their relationship, their stuff that they did in Nixon Falls. And when that whole trial, when the trial happens, they're going to sit there and go through all of it, So, Carly's going to find out. And, of course, Carly's going to be mad at Sonny, and Sonny's going to sit there and feel like, oh, I just want to let the past be the past. And Carly's going to be like, hey, remember when you were sitting there getting upset with me and Jason about, almost hooking up before you got here? And you're all like, you weren't cool with that, and yada, yada, yada. Yet you had no problem sitting there lying by omission to my face. So I thought that she was going to sit there and say that, but she didn't. I have a feeling that Abe was going to sit there and try to bring that up. Like, yo, listen, you might want to sit there and back off your boy Michael because, things get out. everything, you know. I think that's about it. I might have missed a couple of minor things because there was just so many characters that you just want to just cram all into this into this episode. I'm sitting there thinking now because, when I moved, I'm still going through a lot of stuff, and I haven't really been able to find some of like my black T-shirts and stuff like that. So I'm like, when I was sitting there talking about like high school, I'm like, you know what? This might be an interesting idea, or some black T-shirts, because I mean I do need T-shirts anyway. So so before I go, I felt that comment was very interesting. That DW said, because basically, what it really comes down to is that they don't really give a lot of other people the same amount of screen time, the same amount of importance that they do with Sonny and the mob and stuff like that. So, when I said yesterday that I wasn't going to sit there and start watching it even if Jason's gone, is because I like a lot of the characters that are there. They all provide something different and interesting and unique to the show that makes it work. I mean, the show's been on for 50-something years. That's before Sonny, Carly, all of them got on the show. They've been doing a damn good job. So, again, when I sit there and be like, oh, Jason's leaving, I'm going to sit there and start watching. It's like, no. But I really do feel like they should, and it's something that they said, that they should sit there and start, giving other characters more screen time, giving them more interesting storylines. When I'm sitting there talking about Michael, I'm like, well, Michael, was Willow, and they didn't really do anything, and Willow was all like, I'm gonna sit there and stand on the table, and I got a character. It's like, come on, bro. Like, what are you doing to this character, babe? Like, they should be sitting there building up a lot of these other characters. Because, when you sit there and look at this episode, it's like, yeah, this episode is great. But how many people are sitting there waiting to find out what's going to be going on with Drew and Jason and Britt? They're going to get out alive, yada, yada, yada. Because that's the big storyline that they're doing right now. Now, what kind of big storyline are they doing with Esmere and Spencer? And, what did we do today? We pretty much had a PSA about not being ready and being okay with it. Which is fine, but it's like, it should be more, It should be more than just what they're doing. And I think that was, even when I first started watching the show in the beginning, I just wasn't really interested in the whole Dylan and Maxie and Georgie storyline. And so I tend to skip, I was skipping a lot of it. And I kind of regretted it a little bit because I missed a lot of stuff that happened. Like, there was stuff that happened with Alcazar's Neve's stage and how she got killed by Nicholas' twin that wasn't even, like, his real brother. But, then you had Diego and all the other stuff like that I kind of missed a little bit. Because at the time, I just wasn't interested and wasn't invested into, their stuff. Their storyline. They didn't really make them the center of attention. Once again, it was about Carly and Jason and AJ and stuff like that. So it was all about that stuff. And I mean, things have changed now. People are speaking up. They're giving their opinions. They're saying some stuff that isn't really popular. Some people are feeling upset about stuff that's going on. I think now is definitely the time. I mean, more than ever, as far as making every character important, making all their storylines just as interesting as other people's storylines, not just focusing on one single group. When I was talking to DC, so when I was talking to Soap Sanctuary, because that's gonna be his new name, he said to me that one of the writers or somebody that was in GH or whatever, like one of the producers or whatever, was like, oh, the Sunny show or whatever, like the Corinto show. And it was just like, and I remember that person getting tons of backlash because of that. And I feel like now is damn sure the time to make sure each character gets their own, gets, importance, and give them an interesting storyline of something to do other than, Sonny and Nixon Falls. Now Sonny is back and he's doing all this, that, and he's going to go up against Cyrus. It's like, that's great. Can you give Chase something to do also? Could you have Finn do stuff? I mean, it was fun. It was funny because I remember somebody was net to saying like, "Yo, where's the romance in the show? Like the romance, soap operas, romance, all other stuff." And granted, it's there, but when I was sitting there replying back, I was like, well, the romance is wait. So I just anyway, that's just my thoughts. Once again, 5 minutes over the time that I generally tend to try to make these videos. Also, just kind of just going off, you know, off the review and just kind of to my own thing for a minute. But I do appreciate the people that do watch, even when I tend to go off the rails and talk about other stuff that's not necessarily review about the particular episode. But I feel like this was important, so I want to talk about it. Also, I felt like I kind of forgot like one or two things. So, anyway, with that being said, I want to thank everyone for watching. Be safe. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below, and I will see you in the next video.